So often when I start working with new clients, they're saying to me, oh, my people aren't on Facebook. I hate it to break it to you, but there's probably, I don't know, what's the population of Australia these days? About 28 million, and probably about 23 million of them have Facebook accounts. So most likely your client is actually on Facebook, but I get it. There are other channels, there are other social media channels that you can make use of. And I'm going to tell you a couple of the ways that I make use of those channels. So the ones that I focus on primarily, and it's not because, because I favour them in any possible way, it's because I found that they're where my ideal client hangs out. And that is my number one rule of how to choose where to focus your energy, is to know where your client is. Now, how do you know where your client is? Well, first of all, you have to know who your client actually is. So go and watch my one-to-one-to-one video and you'll understand exactly who your client is and what they want to hear from you and how you need to frame it in order for them to take action on that. But on top of that, once you now know who your client is and where your client actually is, you need to kind of assess those channels. Twitter is something that's very much used for short messaging, news kind of updates, engaging people while they're in conferences and getting feedback from audiences and things like that. So really literally short messaging updates, blow by blow. A lot of my clients tend to end up being on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook. Now, the way that you use those three platforms, so number two, once you've chosen, the ones that I'm going to talk through are LinkedIn, Insta and Facebook. So I would use Facebook first and foremost, definitely from an advertising perspective. I mean, obviously Facebook owns Instagram these days anyway, but the way you use Insta would be very different. So I find it really easy to automate funnels. And when I say funnels, I mean how to get your client. So here's all the traffic going in, how to get your clients to take action at any point and eventually how to get your prospects to take action at any point and become a client. That's what a funnel looks like essentially. And that's by understanding who your client is and mapping out that journey of, their customer journey and how you can solve their pain points at any given spot. So Facebook is really brilliant for automating that process because you can use words, videos, images, all of the things, and very specifically target people and very cleverly through almost like a lab-based environment, control and split test variables until you get the one thing that's working to your one person really, really well. So I would always start in Facebook. Even if you want to move over into LinkedIn, understanding what the pain points are, the messages that your client wants to hear from you, Facebook's the cheapest place to do that testing. So once you've worked that out and you've worked out what your funnel is, I would then go over to LinkedIn and start doing some direct messaging in there. Get a VA or somebody to start reaching out to your ideal client and sending them some sort of crafted message that might get their attention without looking spammy. And also what I do is the people that have opted in for my things on Facebook, I then go and connect with them on LinkedIn and send them a little message there too, and that works really well. Instagram's another beast entirely. I use Instagram much more from a personal perspective, so I put up my own stories. I do an Instagram story most days. I find that people, I love it because I've got a documentary background, but I really love telling stories, and I don't mind being the subject of my own life stories because most of the time I find it quite hilarious. Should see some of the places I've ended up and some of the things my kid does, I should say. So interesting, from the perspective of probably a little bit more personal and also very much picture-based. So if you are in, retail or photography or anything that's very visual, obviously Instagram is going to be your go-to, makeup industry, that sort of thing, and you would have probably already been playing in that field. But if you're in more of a kind of like you're a buyer's agent or you're an accountant or a bookkeeper or a coach or something along those lines, then Insta's not as obvious. So I would use it more in a kind of personal perspective of how to build rapport with your clients and look like an actual human, not just somebody that delivers a result all the time. And I'd let them kind of engage in your life. I would definitely still keep it as a business-based profile. Follow it under your own, create it under your own name. I wouldn't be bothering. I don't bother too much with having an Instagram feed for my business name, but definitely for me personally, and people can engage there. So Instagram, very much personal. Facebook's great for automating traffic and getting leads, and LinkedIn, I would then jump over, once you've tested it out in Facebook, jump over to LinkedIn and start playing there. As far as Twitter, Snapchat and all of those other spaces, sure, if you're dealing with teenage girls, you want to be on Snapchat. If you're dealing with more news-based stuff, then being on Twitter and updating frequently is really the key there. But most of my ideal clients are happy to play in this space, and that's where I play for sure. So I hope that's helped you choose where to focus your energies on your social media channels.